real estate and time off, is that even possible? You know, I think that for 99% of real estate agents, this isn't a reality for them. You know, they're working 24/7. They're always chasing the next deal. You know, what does it even take to build a foundation to where you can truly take time off? What do you guys think about that as a real estate agent?
Yeah. So as a real estate agent, man, like that's why I got in this business, was for that time off, that time freedom. And you just got to have standards. When I first started in real estate, I was lucky enough to find seller prospecting. And when you're a listing agent, you definitely have more control of your time. But it's just about having standards with your time too. It's setting expectations right off the bat with your clients. Like, hey, these are the hours I work unless it's an emergency. You know, I take Saturday, Sunday off. If we get an offer over the weekend, I'll negotiate all offers with you. I'll go over the offers with you on Monday. We'll negotiate them on Monday, but we'll let the offers pile in over the weekend. So I just did first year agent. I mean, I was 26, had never sold a house. And really that first year, this is how I started to run my business, being really green in the industry. And I had a lot of success with it. So I was able to take most nights and weekends off unless I chose to work a Saturday morning for some more prospecting. My clients knew not to reach out to me after hours. If they did, they knew to expect a phone call from me the next day. During prospecting hours on my voicemail, I said, hey, I'm looking for buyers and sellers from 8 to 11. I'll get back to you after that. So I find when you set proper expectations, even if you're just an individual agent, you can have a lot of control over your time and not burn out in this business. A lot of agents, I feel like, are so needy when it comes to the clients. They are on 24/7. So I think a lot of it does help when you got good, consistent lead flow. You're consistently prospecting, lead generating. That also helps to give the confidence to set those expectations with your clients. So
my business was not at all pretty or thought out like that in the beginning. That sounds like a wonderful, like perfectly executed textbook plan. Mine was a total crap show. I worked all the time. I was just like trying to get set up. You know, I was still probably running from fear of not having money in earlier days and like just putting the pedal down hard to try to escape that, you know, previous reality. And I remember getting to a point where I was like, I have to build a team because I can't keep going at this rate. And, you know, Lars came into my life in that sense in a big way. And I want to hear what he has to say about this in a minute. But I remember feeling guilty for taking time off initially. And one thing I had to do was just kind of like get over that mental hurdle of feeling guilty for taking time off and not making excuses for time I needed to be with the family, to go out on the lake, on the boat, you know, and I would just call it an appointment. And that started to like help me make that mental shift, is like, hey, can you do this, John? Or can you take me here? Or can we look at a house then? Or can we have a listing appointment at this time? And I'd be like, actually, I already have an appointment then. And it didn't matter what I was doing. If I was out on the lake or I was just taking some downtime, it would just became an appointment. And I found that to make it easier for me to say no to people was like, hey, I'm on an appointment. Lars, what were your earlier days in real estate like?
Yeah, it was quite a shit show for me too. I mean, I'd like to say that I had boundaries in the early days, but I identified the path I was going to go down was through leverage and systems really early on. So when I wasn't like playing the job of a real estate agent, I was, you know, building systems, you know, so I would probably work about 50 to 60 hours as an agent. And then a few nights a week, like I'm talking like 10 p.m. to 1 or 2 a.m., I would sneak upstairs and I would just like build systems. And I did it with a vision toward, you know, having leverage. And I was willing to, you know, do the 12 to 15 hours a week of new business development. And, you know, that brings sort of the lifeblood, the engine of the business. But I just had a specific vision of what I wanted. And to AJ's point, you know, having standards, and a specific focus in the business, right? I mean, buyers are going to take every evening and every weekend, you know, and it's tough to rationalize being a good buyer agent and not giving away most evenings and most weekends. So that's not the side of the business that you're going to have any freedom whatsoever. So that's one thing early on. I had to get the heck out of working with buyers. My first 10 months, I sold 27 homes and I think 25 were buyers. I technically didn't work on Sundays, but of course I worked on Sundays, if I was working an offer or whatever. But AJ, there's one thing, and I'm coming off of 30 days completely disconnected from anything in business. First time I've ever done it. One thing that you said, AJ, when you talked about, having standards, but then also having the discipline to not go into email, to not go and respond to the text of the not so well-behaved client that texts you, 9:00 on a Friday night, right? Like, make sure as long as they know you don't respond, unless, the house is burning down. In that case, call 911. Don't call me.
Yeah.
I will talk to you Monday at, 11 a.m. when I'm done with new business development. So agents it's the good and bad about our industry. The reason we can succeed at a high level is that it's filled with a bunch of commission hounds, people that are so desperate for a commission check that they're willing to work whenever. Right.
Mhm.
And there's one specific tactic, though, I think every agent can pick up. And AJ, you touched on it a little bit, is that you have to decide in advance what your calendar is going to look like. When you're doing new business development, when you're, in email, when you're taking lunch, when you're doing appointments, and have appointment slots in your calendar pre-decided. So if someone's like asking you, hey, can you go out, Friday at 6 p.m. to look at this house? It's like, I can't make Friday. I've got an appointment, but I do have Friday at 4 p.m. open.
Mm-hmm.
If you and Jill can get out of work an hour early, you can grab that appointment, right? And so just have those appointments in your calendar, and your job every morning is to fill those appointments, and that's freedom, right? It's the irony is that there's freedom in the structure.